Have you been wanting to get started with building your business and attracting an audience on TikTok, but you're kind of intimidated? It's such a different platform. Even if you're used to Reels that have, recently come out on Instagram and Facebook, TikTok is different. The algorithms are different. The audience is different. If you've ever been at all intimidated by TikTok, then I have something special for you today. Today, we're going to be hearing from Maayan Gordon, who's going to talk to us about how to get started if you're brand new on TikTok. You're not sure where to start. You're not sure what to talk about. You're not sure how to use the platform, the tools, the settings, all of those things. So if you've been dying to get started on TikTok because you're realizing the algorithm's a little fresher over there than it is on a lot of the platforms that are a lot busier, then you're in the perfect place. Let's jump in and learn from Maayan. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Social Media Sales Summit. Today, I'm here with Maayan Gordon. She's the co-founder of Champion Empire with a passion for empowering and supporting small businesses across the globe. She's an expert in social media psychology, combining science, emotion, and art to create powerful messages and connections. After surviving a gas explosion when she was 19 years old, she was homeless and living out of an RV. And from the depths of despair, she discovered her true passion and her purpose to help others. So she went on to build her first business to 6 figures in a single year, using the power of social media and the power of human connection. Since then, she's gone on to create 3 more successful businesses and brands in both product and service industries. And the exciting part, you guys, she grew her social media following to more than 2.3 million, that's million with an M, million followers on TikTok, 38,000 on Instagram, and another 36,000 on LinkedIn. So we are so blessed to have her here with us today. And we're going to dig into all things TikTok, which I'm super geeked and excited about. So welcome, Maayan. I'm so glad to have you here.
Yeah, thank you so much. It is a pleasure to be here and be a part of this incredible event. I know it's going to bring so much value to people.
Yeah, well, I'm super excited to dig into TikTok. Admittedly, I'm a TikTok fanatic. So I'm really excited about this. And I think the audience is going to be excited too, because of course, it's been creating a lot of buzz. Everyone knows it's the new up and coming platform, but there's still a lot of people who don't know much about it. So this is going to be a good one. Now, before we jump into all things TikTok, some of the audience maybe has not met you yet. So could you tell us just a little bit about you and your entrepreneurial journey and how TikTok became such a starring role in your story?
Yeah, so it's been definitely like a really long journey is the first thing I'll say. So I'll try and give you the abbreviated version. I just thought the options were go to college, get a good job, get degrees. Those are the options that I knew existed. So I started doing the copywriting full time and I thought I'd like figured out life. I was like, oh my God, all these adults think you have to get degrees and I'm making like $20 an hour writing from my bedroom. Like, this is awesome. I don't have to do anything anyone tells me I'm supposed to do anymore. I couldn't see myself being happy going to college for another 11 years to get the veterinary degree that I wanted. And things were great for a while until me and my husband were in a gas explosion in our house. After walking to like 6-7 stores, one of them said, sure, I'll try out like your product, and bought, all 36 of them that we'd used our entire amount of money that we had, to kind of source and put together. And we're like, oh my God, we have a business. So then we kind of grew that business to, 120,000 in the first year, just through tons of cold calling, created a graphic design and sticker printing company, which was more fun for a while, got burnt out on that, transitioned into glass blowing because I've always had an artistic side and kind of that desire to create things. Fell in love with glass blowing right away. And that was my main focus for about 5 years before I hopped on TikTok and LinkedIn. And that was because we were crushing it on Instagram. Every single piece that I could make, I would sell. And we ended up doing, the first year I think was like 150,000. Next year was 250. Next year was 310 in sales. And so I was like, American dream, we made it, but then made some investment mistakes in terms of trying to grow it. Instagram changed up and was our main sales channel. And so boom, our revenue got cut in half in probably like a 3-month period. And so now I had all these extra expenses because we rented out this new extra space that was much bigger, and got into this time period where I had to take out a line of credit so we didn't lose the house that we literally had just purchased, had hired some employees that I had to like fire, all of these different things. And I was working like 18-hour days straight. Even after buying our house, we didn't even go visit it a single time for about 5-6 months, because we would work, like wake up, work, blow glass, ship orders, market, to the point where we were exhausted. We were like, do we want to drive 20 minutes back to our house, or do we want to crash on this bed that's right here so we can get that extra 40 minutes of sleep in? So we were just working. And during that time, I had lots of time to think while I was blowing glass, and went, this is not sustainable. I cannot.
Right. Anytime you're physically making the good that you're selling, you're trading time for money, right?
Yes. Yeah. And so I just really started thinking about, okay, Maayan, you've achieved this low point, you had this high point. Like, what do you want to do with your life? You've got a lot of years left. What are you going to do for the rest of it? Like, you've gotten out of this homeless situation. You're in a better situation now. So like, what are you doing moving forward? And I realized that what made me happy and made me feel fulfilled outside of money was impacting other people who were going through similar emotional things that I had gone through. And that I was able to do that through glass blowing. And that's the part of glass blowing that I loved the most. And so I thought, I can deliver that value many other places, because the way that I was delivering it was through my content. It wasn't the glass piece miraculously had magic to it. It was the magic I'd infused into the glass piece through my content and through talking about things that people were connecting with.
And the storytelling aspect of like,
yes,
what was behind that piece of art.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. For people to know, oh man, she made this piece of art, even though she'd been through these things, she was still able to make something beautiful. I think that's a really universal concept we can all relate to, that sometimes we go through things that make us feel not beautiful or make our life feel like a mess, but we can create something beautiful out of anything that we start with. And I think that's a really inspiring, message people can connect with.
Absolutely. And I've heard this before, and I think your story is the perfect example of this, that your mess is your message.
Yep.
And your struggle is your story. Like,
yep.
And it's so true. No one's inspired by someone who's never had a problem in their entire life and they eat from a silver spoon. Like, that doesn't inspire anyone. It's the challenges in life that really allow people to relate and become inspired. And so TikTok comes onto the scene. Yep. What did you decide to do to kind of move away from that trading time for money aspect?
Yeah. So honestly, that was never much of a thought until I would say probably 2020, maybe late 2020, early this year, even 2021, because my sole focus was just on how to help people and build relationships that made my life better and happier. Because before TikTok and LinkedIn, all of my relationships were transactional or related to, I had customers who I was also friends with, but that's not the same as connecting with someone who you have no other relationship and connecting over values. And that was just never something I'd led with before. I'd always led with my products in terms of the different businesses that I had, of like, hey, check out this cool thing, instead of, hey, here's something I've learned and I believe in. And so I started doing that on LinkedIn. Actually, LinkedIn was a huge catalyst in parallel with TikTok that really helped me transition to realizing that the largest amounts of value that we can create, where we're not trading our time for money anymore, are one, collaborative. And TikTok, I think, is the most collaborative platform that I've ever been on. And so realizing, oh, wow, there's opportunity to create value just by me doing the exact same thing I'm doing with someone else, not like putting more time or effort or work into it, but by harnessing what I'm already doing with someone else's resources, or whatever it is that another human being brings to the table, that's another way to create value. And so that's something I speak about a lot when because I have a coaching business now that helps small businesses in all sorts of different areas, and really helping people look outside of the traditional ways in which things were created because our world is different now. Technology has completely changed our world. And one of the largest pieces of technology is the internet, right? Yeah. And so our ability to take the things we're already doing and combine them with things other people are already doing and have that create more value started blowing my mind. And I started seeing it show up more and more. It's completely changed how I view the world and how I view individuals' contributions to the world. And it's a beautiful way to look at it instead of, oh, you have to do this amount of work, right? I think the societal messaging right now is kind of around hustle culture, right? Like you have to work harder, not smarter, even though you don't have to do either of those things. You have to work with other people. It's not about smarter. It's not about harder. It's about working together.
Absolutely. Well, and this summit is a perfect example of that. Like by collaborating with all of you lovely speakers, I'm able to bring so much more value to the audience. Yep. That there's no way I could possibly know all of these topics, and nor should I have to. Like yep. The power of collaboration is really where it's at. And that honestly, it leads to more connection too, because there's always someone's voice that's going to hit someone in the audience in just the right way. And they're going to be like, oh my God, this is my person. Right. But you have to work with other people to find that magic. So I think that's amazing. So as we look at how to take that idea of connection being the power of everything and bringing that into TikTok, what kind of role can TikTok play for a business owner? Like why TikTok? Why should they even take the time to look at it?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of reasons kind of stacked on top of each other that make it so attractive. I would say one is it's not just a platform or a channel in which you can generate traffic, right? Mm-hmm. Traffic to your website, traffic to whatever it is you want to send people to, right? Because normally the goal of any kind of marketing is to either get people to take an action or to send them to another place where you can have better communication with them, right? Because on a social media, it's many to many, right? Like you're not kind of controlling the environment very much. And so if you can send them from your TikTok profile to your website where you can capture their email, right? There's like a lot of benefit to that. So that's one of the benefits, right? Generating traffic, generating attention, because TikTok has the most attention out of any platform right now. And so instead of you trying to take your business to an area of the world, to an area of people's attention where they don't have interest, and instead showing up where people are excited and interested in wanting to get involved, makes your job a lot easier. But then also it's an excellent tool to help you develop your video and marketing skills. It's also a tool to understand your audience and your customers better. So I think it's a great market research tool, because let's be honest, how many of us truly 100% dialed in understand who our customer really is? Almost none of us, except for maybe some of the really, really big giant companies have enough data and enough time looking at that to have a really good understanding. But most of us really only think we know who our customers are. And, TikTok gives us these insights that we're not going to get anywhere else. And I don't just mean data provided through the analytics of the platform, such as, TikTok gives you access to the average watch time of your video, to, what percentage of people watched up to that point, and what percentage of people dropped off, to where those, views come from geographically, or, the age breakdown of those. So that's valuable data. But TikTok gives you even more than that in terms of like the data and the insights you get from the comments. And I do quite a bit amount of research kind of on, what marketing companies, they'll put out these decks of like, here are the stats for marketing in, 2021. And they'll be like 73% of, people said they watched a YouTube video, and, 50% of people, blah, 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 blah. And what I've read recently is that TikTok is the platform that receives the most comment engagement, which makes sense to me. I see videos and if you've been on TikTok, you'll see videos sometimes show up on your For You page that have 40,000 comments, 200,000 comments. Like it's insane the amount of communication that you get. And within what your customers are telling you when you are not prompting them, is so much insight into who they are, how they think, and how they feel.
It's always the top of mind, unprompted, unscripted comments and feedback that are the most valuable. And I can definitely relate to that. I mean, I spend a lot of time on social media, right? Because my business is related to that. It's I see far more engagement and far more comments on TikTok than any other platform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love something you brought up that I want to touch on real quick before we kind of started this interview was you said, you were testing out different topics until you found the ones that really connected with people.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that I've seen be an X factor between success and failure with almost every business is how much are you testing? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of businesses are afraid to test on Instagram or on Facebook because that's where they have it. You're supposed to have it dialed in. It's supposed to look really put together. You're supposed to look really professional and like you have everything already figured out on those platforms. Whereas TikTok has the opposite culture.
It's fine to be messy. It's fine to not have everything look perfect. In fact, You're going to get more views the more raw and real and authentic you are.
And by design of the platform, if you create a bad video, no one's going to see it.
Yeah.
What a beautiful, safe place to test out marketing and messaging.
Because no one sees your mistakes. They only see your mistakes. Wins.
Yeah. They're not going to watch videos from your profile. Videos are almost exclusively consumed through this algorithm fed feed. So if you're not familiar with TikTok, think about Facebook. When you open up Facebook, you've got a feed, right? And you see other people's posts and stories. Now imagine never leaving that feed. That is the only place that you are looking at content. You don't go to groups, you don't go to pages, you don't search someone's name. You're just reading what pops up and appears in front of you. That's how people engage on TikTok.
Yeah, largely. I agree. So for the person who's like really intrigued by TikTok and they kind of want to get started, but maybe they're super intimidated. Like it's hard when you're approaching a platform you know nothing about.
Yep.
What's the best way to get started? And like, tell us a little bit about like for beginners, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, well, my first advice is to grab my free PDF where I've got 10 tips for people getting started. But really, I think you're bringing up a question that applies to not just TikTok or not just social media, but to life in general. What do you do when you're afraid? For me, and the answer is going to be different for everyone, but what I found works incredibly well for me is you attack with action. So if you're nervous about starting TikTok, then like go in, jump into the deep end of it. Say, I'm going to post every single day, 2 to 3 times per day for the next 2 weeks. And I don't care what happens because my main goal is to just get past this fear barrier.
Yeah, just rip that Band-Aid off and
rip the Band-Aid off. Nothing bad is going to happen. And I think a good exercise is write down what are your fears? What are your actual fears? Because sometimes we let fear sit inside our head without a real name. And as soon as we name it, like many of us have experienced, as soon as we say it out loud, we're like, oh, actually, that's not scary.
Or actually, that sounds really silly now that I say it out loud. Like,
yeah, like what a silly thing to be scared of, right? And so I would write down like, what are you afraid is actually going to happen if you start posting on TikTok? And the things you might write down would be like, well, my professional friends on LinkedIn will see it and think that I'm a joke, right? Write that down. I'm afraid that I'll waste my time that I can never get back, right? Like write down all those things and then address them. Also write down, like address them in your head, but then write them down. This is a ridiculous fear because X, Y, and Z. Or even if this fear happens, I can still do X, Y, and Z to mitigate it. And you can really come up logically because fear is such an emotion. It actually prevents us from thinking logically. So once you can let the emotion out and put it on a piece of paper, now you can re-engage the logical side of your brain and be like, oh, no, these emotional fears are not valid. And I'm going to take this course of action. So all that to say, create an action plan. Right?
I love that. Of us action kills fear quicker than anything.
Absolutely.
Else. I totally agree with that. Fear just stands for future events appearing real.
Yeah.
And you don't know what's going to happen. You're just making it up.
Yes.
So if you're going to make it up, why not make it up good?
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. And I think, it's one, realizing that attacking with action is going to kind of break down that fear, but then also giving yourself a plan. Like anytime I've been in a space in the past 2 years where I felt frustrated or nervous or upset, like for me, a lot of times when I get nervous or fear, it shows up as like frustration or anger or impatience.
So weird. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when I get in that state, I go, okay, well, what's my plan? And almost all of the time, I don't have a concrete plan. Like I've got pieces of a plan. So in my head, I'm telling myself there's a plan, but it's not fully mapped out. And there's clearly this space between point C and point D that I haven't created a bridge between. And you feel it. You feel this fear of how am I going to get from C to B or from C to D? But then once you create the plan, you feel so confident, right? You're like, that's how I'm going to do it. And I know how to do that thing that I said I was going to do.
So if we're starting to create a plan of action, then with TikTok, like how often should you be posting? Like, is there a certain type of content that people should start with if they're just not sure where to start? Like, let's dip our toe in the water and create a little plan together.
Yeah, let's do it. So I think you're right. Frequency is an important thing. That's going to be different for people. So I would never suggest you should do this without context. So I think look at the context of how much time do you have? That's the most important thing. And start there. How much time do you have to put into TikTok, period? And if you say, okay, you know what, it's 3 hours a week, great. Start with those 3 hours and break that down. Decide, okay, how much of those 3 hours is going to be content ideation, coming up with ideas? How much of that time is going to be content creation? How much of that time is going to be video editing? Because when I say content, it's all video on TikTok. So there's filming the content, there's editing the content, and then when am I going to be posting this content? So break down how much time you want to allot into each of those categories. And then based on the time, so work backwards from starting with what do you have to work with, not what is my ideal scenario? Because none of us are, playing with our ideal scenario of what we could come up with in our head. There's only 24 hours in a day. In my ideal scenario, there's maybe like 100 or more, right? So I'm sure the same is true for all of you guys. So figure out how much time you have and then break that down into how many videos do you reasonably think you can create. So if it takes you minimum 15 minutes to film something because, you didn't like how that looked, or you got to set stuff up for the video, say, okay, I've got 1 hour and it takes me 15 minutes per video. That means I can do 4 per week. And don't say, but I should do 7 per week, 1 per day. You can't. Like, don't force yourself into something you reasonably can't do because it's just going to make you feel bad. So, that's the plan, is just start with your resources, work backwards. And by the end of you dividing those resources, that is the plan.
Exactly. And especially if you have that lens over top of it of like, it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yes.
Because the great thing about TikTok is that it's raw and it's fun and it's interesting. And I know for me, when I first started spending time on the platform, I was thinking like, I wouldn't even know what to post here. But the more I just scrolled as a consumer, the more ideas I got. Because every time I saw something that I was like, wow, that is so cool, I would stop myself and say, well, what was cool about that? Like, what grabbed my attention and why did I like that? And I know for a lot of the people who are brand new to TikTok, and maybe, feel free to expand on this a little, people don't realize like, you don't have to come up with all the ideas. The magic of TikTok is you can reuse other people's audio.
Yep.
And then just like repurpose it and just like put a new video to someone else's audio. It's super cool the way it works.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it touches on this concept that I love so much, which is we're all unique. That's what's unique about our content on TikTok is we are different. The way we think is different. The way we feel is different. And so even if I'm creating the exact same video as someone else, it's different because I look different. I feel different. I sound different, right? And so I think that's a great point. But I also want to point out that's why separating ideation from content creation is so important. And most people are not doing that yet, right? Like when I hop on LinkedIn, I'm thinking about what I want to post and creating it in the same sitting session. Yes. With TikTok, you can do that, especially if you have that skill, but it's going to be much easier and more effective if you go, I give myself dedicated time to come up with ideas. And part of that, for some people, maybe that's just sitting in a room with a piece of paper. For some people, it's going to be opening up a notebook and taking notes while you're watching other people's TikTok videos.
Yeah. Or simply scrolling. And every time you find a video you like, save that audio.
Save the video, save the audio.
Later, save the video and be like, I'm going to do a rendition of that. And what I love about TikTok is like, people like it when you reuse their audio. It's not like they're like, God, they stole my stuff. It's like saying, hey, props to you. Your audio was awesome. I'm going to do a little spin off on it. And it's kind of like giving someone a high five almost to reuse their audio. Like, it's not a bad thing.
No, it's a really good thing because one, it drives more engagement and virality. So if someone creates an audio and lots of people start using it, that person's likely to gain a lot of new followers because people, again, the psychology behind it is if I like what you created, I'm probably going to like you as a person. So we should be friends, right? I mean, you can see that as old as time, right? Like that's how we have largely connected as human beings. Oh, you like sports too? Let's talk about that. Let's bond over that. Oh, you're from this town that I grew up in. Let's talk. So it's all about finding the relatability and creating bridges between each other. And TikTok has done that and created different ways to do that very, very well.
Yeah. So knowing that there's this like cool audio reusing feature, do you have any advice on how often you should be reusing viral audio versus creating your own audio? Like any advice on that split on how to?
Yeah, no one knows until you start posting. Not even the platform knows until you start posting. But I would say if you're starting out an account, pick one and stick to it for a while to give it a chance to see if it's working. I think one of the mistakes people make is they try too many different things all at once. And coming from a scientific perspective, you kind of need some control variables to really understand and analyze your data accurately. Make some decisions around that. Be like, I'm going to use my voice in every video for the first 10 videos. And if I'm not gaining traction, then I'll try doing just sounds without my voice. And then after that, I'll try no sound, but I'll use the text to speech feature. And there's all of these cool, fun things you can play with, but none of us know, because of that uniqueness of us, which parts of us are the most connective to other people. Right. And so I would say the more self-aware you are, the more success you'll probably have on TikTok, but also TikTok helps you become more self-aware, whether that's personally as a human being or even as a brand. Right. And I think a lot of brands.
Like, what content do I actually enjoy creating?
Yeah.
Like, social media should be fun, you guys. Like, do whatever feels fun to you, and you're going to attract other people who like the same stuff.
Yep.
So, and I know for me, whenever I go to someone's profile or channel or whatever you want to call it, TikTok or otherwise, I take a peek and I'm like, what can I expect from this account?
Yep.
What kind of stuff am I going to see here? So if someone does see one of your videos and they love it, and they just quick peek at your thing and they see that you're being consistent, like, oh yeah, I can expect a whole lot more of this, they're more likely to follow, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's a mix of stuff, but they're like, wow, I really like their mix, follow, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I was just going to say that. So I think, staying really niched has advantages, which are, I think it's easier to grow your numbers because people like consistency and they like to be able to predict what's going to happen and then be like, oh, I was right. I knew that was going to happen in this video, or, like, we love that. But like, as someone in my account, I have, I'd say, 30 to 50% glass blowing videos and, 50 to 70% of other stuff. Like, I've got videos of my dogs, of my husband, traveling, food, kind of all of the things that I enjoy. And that's because even though I know if I only did glass blowing, I'd probably grow more number of followers. But I know by having more visibility into more of my brand and who I am, the followers I have are deeper followers. And for me, I care more about other things than just the metrics. And for example, like with my glass blowing videos, people will tell me when I hop on new Zoom calls or different things, they'll be like, I just got lost. I checked out your account, before this call, and I, spent 30 minutes just watching your glass blowing videos. Those are so cool.
Well, they're so mesmerizing.
Yeah. And while that's a nice thing, compliment to hear, I much more value and would rather have someone say, your glass blowing content's really cool, but I watched this one video of your dog and that was so cute how you guys did this together, because that's much more relatable and connective. Like, most people are not going to be glass blowers.
Right.
So even
but
though
there
they
are a
think
lot of
it's
animal lovers
cool,
out there, right?
Yeah, even though they think it's cool, it's not as strong a connection point as someone who also has a dog that's a Frenchie and I've got a Frenchie. That's like immediate blood bonds for life. Like
Yes.
it's a different level.
I can totally see that. There's an account that I follow where literally all he posts is a video of him holding up 2 pieces of food and he lets his dog lick both of them and then eat the one that he prefers. And it's hilarious.
Awesome.
He's like, apple or grape, like it's just
Yep.
adorable because I love animals, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, imagine, if you're running a business, right? And you're trying to attract clients and customers, chances are they're super, super interested in whatever it is you teach, right? You could create some totally bingeable content around that, the thing you teach, whatever it is, right?
Yep.
So yeah, that's super fascinating. So it could be a mix of reusing audio, using your own audio, but standing for something. I'm hearing like you want to have a consistent thing that you stand for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say it's more emotional than any other platform. So the thing you stand for doesn't have to be something you say all the time or in every video. It has to be a feeling people get when they watch your videos.
Yeah.
And I think our emotions speak a lot stronger and more loudly to us than words do a lot of the times. And that's something new that other platforms haven't really tapped into because we experience an entirely different level of emotions watching video than we do reading, than any other form of content. There's nothing that matches how we experience video, right? To the point where sometimes when people watch videos, they get so immersed within what they're watching, they forget where they are, right? They forget like literally everything else about their existence.
Yeah. And so real quickly, and I know we're kind of getting short on time here, but I really want to ask, for those who have already been using TikTok for a while, they're a little further along.
Yep.
What's the key to turning all these viewers, all these eyes on your content into actual customers or clients or sales? Like, what's the quick answer on how to crack that nut?
Yeah. So look at it as a skill you have to develop, not as a set of elements you have to get right. And then the box is unlocked. There's no such thing. It's going to be small baby steps forward until you get where you want to be. You're not going to get it right the first time. You're not going to probably get it right the second or the third or the fourth time, but you can get a little bit closer and a little bit better each time. So, I mean, there's tons of strategies from, using the link in your bio and having like a free lead magnet to using live streaming as a feature to promote the thing. So there's tons of different ways to accomplish your goal, whether it's sales or harnessing people into a community or creating an ambassador program or bringing awareness to a product. So I think it's getting really clear about what those goals are, because I have a lot of brands come to me, honestly, and they'll be like, we're interested in TikTok. I'll be like, great. What is your goal with putting money, time, and energy into this platform? And they'll go, we want sales of this product. What is the ROI we can expect? And I come back to them and I go, TikTok right now is not a sales channel or a sales platform. So if that's the only reason you're looking at it, you should probably look at Facebook ads or something else, because you're thinking about this very linearly when this is a complex, multidimensional platform. And because of that, you have to set really clear goals. So I would say, on the other side, sometimes I get people and they'll be like, our number one goal is to increase awareness, and we want to measure that in this way. Our secondary goal is to start working with influencers and to build up an ambassador program. And then our third goal is to eventually generate sales through this channel. But we understand that that's not likely to happen within the first 8 to 12 months. But we want to make this a long-term part of our strategy, and we want someone to help guide us through that. So get really clear on, why are you on TikTok?
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So for those who have been watching and listening and they're just intrigued by these short little videos, reusing audios, like emotionally connecting with their audience, maybe in a way that they've never done before, and they're looking for a way to get started. I understand you have a free gift that could maybe help them to dip their toe in the TikTok water. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So it is a wonderful PDF that I put together from a video series that I did almost 2 years ago, but all of the elements still hold true. And that's what I love about TikTok is it's built based off of how human beings work, not technology. Like the technology supports the end goal of connecting humans. It's not really, using the technology for its own end. And so I've got this great PDF with kind of my top 10 tips on getting started on TikTok if you're a business. So I think, these things are true if you're just going on there for fun. But if you're someone who is trying to use TikTok for a particular purpose or end, that's how I've really designed and created this PDF. And in addition to kind of those top 10 tips, you'll have my email address and you'll be able to message me directly. So I think this is a lot of times people ask, how can people get in touch with you? That's the best way to get in touch with me, because then you'll have my direct email, like my primary main email, not like a customer service email or something like that. And I think it's going to get your gears turning in the right direction, and you'll be able to kind of go on your own after that. And that's one of the things that I've seen be really cool about TikTok. It's like an unlock for your creativity. I'm sure you've experienced this. Like a lot of people join the app, and if you ask them, are you creative? They'd be like, no, I have no creative thoughts. I'm not a creative person. 6 weeks later, they've got all the best ideas and they're like, oh my God, like I am creative. This is so cool.
Yeah. Spend a month just being a viewer of TikToks and you'll have ideas coming out of your ears.
Exploding. Yeah.
So what an abundant gift. If you've been thinking that you want to dip your toe in the TikTok waters, figure out how to get started. This guide is going to be the best place for you to just get like the one-stop shop on here's all the things you need to know to get started. But real quickly, because you have something special, I understand you have like almost like a mini course on TikTok. So for those of you watching, we'll have a shop now page that has all kinds of helpful information, mini trainings, things like that, specific to social media. And one of them will be this TikTok course. Could you tell us just a eensy bit about it?
Yeah. So it's definitely not a mini course. It's actually quite robust. But basically I broke down TikTok into 6 different modules or areas that you kind of have to think about. And we go through every single one of them. It's got a ton of proprietary exercises that I created because one of the things, just based off how I learned and then feedback I got from other people, is, being taught something's great, but it's when you actually work on it yourself that you learn it. And I had, starting out 2 years ago when I was just starting consultations around TikTok, I noticed that at the end, people would be like, that was a lot of information. I almost feel a little paralyzed with like what I'm supposed to do with this information that I just learned. So I've got tons of just worksheets on there that ask you a question and give you space to write things down. And I think that's super valuable. And then there's videos and PDFs and other things in there.
Oh, awesome. So yeah, if you're not just wanting to dip your toe in, you're wanting to jump into the deep end and not figure it out yourself, but get guided help. Check out the social media shop now page. It's full of helpful social media resources. I'll make sure there's a button somewhere nearby. So thank you so much, Maayan. This has been so helpful and rich. And I think TikTok is very much like a blue ocean. It's not as crowded as other platforms. The algorithm favors the creators. On one platform, you might get a couple dozen likes or comments, and on TikTok, you could get 500,000. It's crazy. So we so appreciate your time. Thank you for being with us here today.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity to come speak and share.
Awesome. So be sure to join us in the Facebook group, guys. We're going to continue the conversation there. There will be an opportunity for Q&A. Maayan will be in there too. So you can get access to her and meet her. How cool is that going to be? So definitely join us there, and we'll see you in the next session. Bye, guys.
You've been listening to the Impactful Entrepreneurs Show with Adrienne Hill, where we support coaches, course creators, and network and affiliate marketers to translate their big picture vision into actionable plans to build out their business efficiently. If you love our show, we invite you to visit buildalifebydesign.com to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover more helpful resources. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, and share. Thank you for listening.